Good morning, second period. It is Tuesday, May 26th. I hope you had a great Memorial Day. We are going to do a mini lesson today that deals with identifying with less likable and less admirable characters. So let's get started. Today I've got a new poem to share with you. As I read it out loud, will you again think about a part that you especially connect with? Think about the part or the parts where you see yourself. Um, In Line at the Drugstore by Claudia Rankine. In line at the drugstore, it's finally your turn, and then it's not as he walks in front of you and puts his things on the counter. The cashier says, "Sir, she was next." When he turns to you, he is truly surprised. "Oh my God, I didn't see you. You might be in a hurry," you offer. "No, no, no, I really didn't see you." From a Citizen, an American lyric. Will you think about where in the text you saw yourself? Readers, let me give you a little bit of feedback. When listening to the connections you just made, I realized that when you read this poem and when you read many texts, you tend to see yourself in the good guys, the positive characters, the heroes, the characters that are most likable and admirable. In this poem, you see yourself in the cashier who stood up for the overlooked person, and you see yourself in the person who has been made to feel invisible. Not many of you saw yourself in that man who walked right in front of the narrator who said, "I didn't see you." Today, I want to teach you that as a reader, there's a lot of that you miss if you identify with only the likable and admirable characters, the heroes. You also need to be able to see yourself in the villain. Otherwise, you mute some of the story's power to change you. Catherine Patterson, the author of Bridge of Terabithia and the great Gilly Hopkins, recently told a big group of teachers that when she's writing a story, she has learned that she needs to love and see herself in even the bully, the villain. When she first drafted Bridge to Terabithia, the bully in the story, Janice Avery, was based on some people from her own middle school days who had taunted her unmercifully. But as she revised Bridge, she found herself empathizing even with Janice Avery. Now she says that one of the biggest lessons for her is that a writer needs to see herself in the villain, or that villain will just be what she calls a cardboard cutout character. I think that is true also when you're reading. You and I need to see parts of ourselves and even the hard to like characters. Otherwise, the lessons we learn will kind of be cardboard cutout lessons. Let's try this work with another text, and then I'm going to ask you to try it with the in line at the drugstore. Will you think with me about the story Inside Out? Will you think about whether you mostly put yourself in Francisco's shoes? I know I did, even though I've never been in his exact situation, going to school in a country where I can't speak or understand the language. I relate to him because there's a lot of times when I feel like people don't really take the time to understand me. I can relate to feeling left out and embarrassed. But let's think for a moment about Curtis. Let's think about Curtis at his worst when he was roughing up Francisco because of the jacket, which we know was in the Lost and Found, was given to Francisco by the principal. My first thought is, I'm not like that. But if I think about Curtis a little harder from his point of view, he sees someone wearing his jacket, and all he thinks about is his own side of that story. All he thinks about is, that's my stuff you've got on. And if I'm honest, there are times when I think just about my side of the story, just about my stuff and what I want. I don't think Curtis was really thinking about the whole event from Francisco's side. He didn't stop to think about what it was like for him, or to think about how he's bigger than this kid, or to realize that Francisco is struggling to fit in and feel okay. Um, do you notice how that went? And what I'm saying is that one way to let a story really change you is to realize that it can be easy to identify only with a good guy or with a character that seems most like you. But well written stories have special power because readers can actually identify with even the villain, the bully, the person doing actions that even horrify us. And when we do have the courage to realize it can be like that sometimes, we can see ourselves with a new perspective. Sometimes our reading can help us make resolutions to try to be like that as little as possible. So I'm going to add two more here. Study less admirable characters to think, am I sometimes like this? And resolve to make changes in your life based on the deep reading you've done. In line at the drugstore, it's finally your turn, and then it's not as he walks in front of you and puts his things on the counter. The cashier says, "Sir, she was next." When he turns to you, he is truly surprised. "Oh my God, I didn't see you. You must be in a hurry," you offer. "No, no, no, I really didn't see you." So after we read the poem, I want to suggest that this poem would be more powerful if you push yourself to see yourself in the villain. Will you reread it and think about it and try to do that work in your mind? So be brave. Admit to connections you might not feel proud of. Consider what you can learn. How might you live your life differently? Readers, I love the way you are stepping away outside of your comfort zones and clubs you are carrying each other through the storm with great care. Such beautiful, responsive listening. Whenever you're reading, remember that though it's easy to identify with a less likable, admirable um, characters, the heroes, the innocent victims, you'll often learn more about your characters and yourselves if you try to see yourself in the villains. Identify with the villains can help you learn more about from the text so you don't learn the cardboard cutout lessons. Today you'll have a shorter independent time. Let me keep going. So here is a quote from Eli Wiesel. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And he wrote the book Night. He was in one of the internment camps during World War II. Today's task is to read chapters 47 and 48 in The Serpent King. You're going to still continue working on finishing your work for the summer reading list for your social issues unit of study. The assignment is posted on Google Classroom and it is due tomorrow. Have a great day.